Hello, welcome to the Cricketers Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Tim Williams. We are here to take a look at the world of cricket with the stunning England v India series concluding in a draw, a famous draw at that, after the tourists claimed a fiery win in the final test, while Australia's white ball series against South Africa in Darwin has begun in style. For the host here to talk through it with me, as always, Cricket Australia commentator Maxi Bryden. Maxi, how are you?
G'day, Timo. I'm good, mate. Don't be fooled by the jumper. The summer of cricket is here.
It is.
How good is it having T20 cricket back on our screens at the start of August? I can't remember a season which has started this early, but I'm absolutely here for it.
We're going to talk about it a lot later, mate, but cricket in the top end in Darwin in Australian winter, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Oh, mate, bring it on. I feel like it's the future, and yeah, I'm looking forward to chopping that up.
Big opportunity there. Also with us today, the man with the best stats in sport, random stats guy, Rando. How are you, mate?
Mate, good. Obviously, Maxi didn't get the memo, the SC Playbook memo. I mean, Ralph Lauren.
Oh, he's got it.
There it is.
Yes.
Yeah, take it off.
Yes.
Team play here.
Literally, what's that? What's the show where it's like a celebrity behind the Masked Singer, where they all go, take it off. That's what I was thinking there. But no, as you mentioned, cricket in the top end, how good. I mean, a week ago as well, watching Test cricket, England, India. As we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, two teams we both hate, but we were glued to the screens, not knowing which one to go for. I was going for England in the end, even though England probably should have won from the get-go. But I thought it'd be a remarkable story there with Wokes, with his shoulder up in a brace as well. So unfortunately, India get the job done, but also fortunately too, they did it without Bumrah. So
You were going for England in the end.
It was a weird pattern. It was like, oh fuck, India could do this. But then I saw Wokes walk out with the shoulder strapped up, and I was like, well, you know what? I like an underdog story here. So maybe Wokes just one-handed hits it for four.
Who did it better, mate? Gary Lyon at Lords. I was at that test. I was at that day of cricket a few years ago. Or, I mean, he wasn't even injured on the final day, was he?
Yeah. The calf injury.
I mean, he didn't face a ball, I should say.
Yeah, exactly. Wokes just didn't even bother facing a ball, but Gary Lyon put on 15 brave runs, and Australia went on to win the test as well. And he hit a boundary too on one leg. So you tell me, I think Gaz is still the GOAT.
Who did it better, Maxi?
Look, I think we were robbed of probably the most incredible scenes, trying to see a bloke hold up a bat with his non-dominant hand. I was really interested to know how he was going to do it, if he was going to play French cricket and sort of stand there in front of his stumps. But it's got to be Gary, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about Rando about going for these English blokes, but
I said Gaz.
No, but you said you were also going for England that day, mate.
No,
almost
against India.
Yeah, but this is an Ashes year. Come on, mate. They start very, very soon. There won't be much pro-English chatter.
I only go for England in times of Bazball. I'm a big Brendan McCullum fan, Brisbane Heat base, you know? So that's where I draw back from. So when I support England, I'm actually supporting just Baz.
Yeah.
What about Dan Vettori now on the Australian Test coaching team? Surely that brings you back to Australia?
Yeah, it does. Well, Australia brings me back to Australia. I don't need another. I'd be a Kiwi fan if I was doing that. Anyway,
honestly,
where were we? Take it off. Take it off.
I just wish Wokes faced a ball just to see how it all unfolded, but I didn't eventuate that way. Anyway, and an unplanned plug for the T-shirts, but SC Playbook T-shirts, our first ever merch drop, Wednesday, 6 p.m. So tomorrow night they go on sale via the SC Playbook website, shop on site. So support the site and go and check that out. Boys, on today's show, we're going to look at the Australia v South Africa series, the Aussies winning the first T20, but what's at stake across this white ball series. We're also going to head over and have a look at the Australia A Tour of India. Sam Konstas, he makes the trip. There's no space for Weatherald or Sanger. England versus India, of course, we'll recap that one, culminating in a thrilling drawn series. Indian quicks thrived without Bumrah, so a big tick there. And which POM stocks rose and fell leading into the Ashes at the end of the season. So plenty to look at there. And then Aussies in action, Davey Warner finding some form over in the UK's 100 tournament. We will start with Australia versus South Africa, though. The top end tour being played up in Darwin. 3 T20s and 3 ODIs against South Africa. Australia won the opener by 17 runs. Tim David, the hero yet again, 83 runs off 52 balls. Cam Green, 35 runs off 13 balls for the tourists. Kamwat Mafafa, I did well there. Mafafa, 4 for 20. Ryan Rickleton, 71 off 55. Josh Hazlewood and Ben DeWarsh's 3 wickets apiece for the Aussies. What we'll start with, Maxi and Randa, we'll start with the fact that they're playing cricket in the top end, which is very, very cool. Has been done before, but not for a while, Rando.
Yeah, absolutely. First time since 2008. If people were following the pipes of Cricket Australia, you would have seen the famous David Hussey, Cameron White interaction where they were both at the crease. Cam Wright hit a long one around down on the ground. They ran 3. At the end of it, David Hussey goes, Whitey, no more 3s, just 4s and 6s. And that's what cricket's all about. That's what we want to see there. Pioneers of T20 cricket, those two as well. So, love to see it, and if we can get cricket earlier in Australia, why not keep going with it? Because it's been unbelievable so far.
And that quote paved the way for a bloke like Tim David, who absolutely lit up in the first clash. Maxi, the opportunity for Australia to basically have cricket around the clock in warm conditions, with cricket in the top end up in Darwin in winter, obviously trialling it out, Cricket Australia at the moment. What are your thoughts?
I love it. I've felt this way for a while too. I think a few years ago started to really notice a trend that was happening, particularly at the level just underneath the professional, with T20 cricket being played in the top end. The Strike League is a tournament. It is the Northern Territory-based T20 tournament that has been attracting professional cricketers and really, really good club cricketers from around the country for years now to go up there in the off-season and play a really, really good T20 tournament. They've had teams who have come over from Pakistan who have played as well. Teams from Sri Lanka as well have also turned up and played in this tournament. And for me, seeing the success of the Strike League, the growth of the Strike League, and just these people playing really high-quality cricket at that time of year has always just made me think that we've got an incredible resource, which is arguably the envy of all of these other countries, whereby we can legitimately, in this country, play cricket for almost 12 months of the year on outdoor pitches, on good quality pitches, in perfect climates. You go up to Darwin right now at the moment, every single day is going to be about 32 degrees. It was not a lick of rain in the air. We've got fantastic conditions to help the next generation of people prepare for a big Aussie summer, or even just to keep our Aussies fit and actual match fitness. Cricket's one of those weird games where sports science will always want us to push players to be stronger in the gym and more flexible, but nothing actually beats playing cricket if you want to be good at cricket. And the ability to go up there to the top end, I think, is underutilised. So I'd love to see more of it.
Yeah, you mentioned Maxi being sort of the envy of everyone in world cricket to be able to play in these sort of conditions 12 months round. What is the importance of being able to play in warmer conditions across the year and not sort of play during winter and whatnot, purely based around decks and growth and all these sorts of things for curators?
There's just nothing like playing on turf wickets. Nothing really can replicate it. You go around to all of the different states and seeing their setups and how they're training out of season and in season. You've got guys who are having to run around in indoor centres in Victoria because it's wet and cold and miserable. Tassie have been trying to figure this out for years. They've gone down the English route and almost built a bit of a greenhouse that they can place over pitches to keep the weather out but keep turf wickets up. You just can't beat the quality and the practice that you can get from playing on turf wickets, which is what the top end offers. It's not just Darwin either. They're also playing games in Cairns as well, which at this time of year, another beautiful spot, not just for drinking beers, but also for playing cricket. So I think it's an amazing resource, and I'd love to see more of it. One idea I've always had is to have an offshoot of the Big Bash League that could be played up there as a winter tournament to help grow the confidence of the next generation, so that when they are coming into the best domestic competition in our country for T20 cricket, they're a little bit more primed. I think it's a fantastic development opportunity and pathway, so I'd love to see more of it.
Do you think there's a taste for Northern Territory cricket? Would we see a Northern Territory team or a Northern team where they play out of Darwin and Cairns in the future in the Big Bash?
Potentially. I feel that, I don't know if they're ever going to have the population size to really come with the talent from a local perspective. Yep. But if you were looking for an academy, like an under-19s team of the best talent from around the country who perhaps weren't good enough to play for their state at the moment, there's no reason why they couldn't represent the Northern Territory in a domestic circuit, particularly in an off-season capacity. When you go through the pathways as well, all of the different levels that have been played, state age cricket, 15, 17, 19s, the Northern Territory team is already always topped up with talent from other states who don't make their first team. So that's a bit of a common pathway. So it could just be a matter of, if they don't want to play more cricket up there, could we take the Australian Cricket Academy, bring back that concept and place it up there as well, because it's a place that you just don't get conditions like this. And as I said, playing cricket is a great way to prepare for getting better at cricket.
Yeah, certainly does open up a lot of options for Cricket Australia if it is deemed a success coming out of the series in play at the moment. Rando, looking at the cricket itself and the players, what's at stake on this tour for the Aussies? We begin to sort of cast an eye forward, and we'll be doing this a little bit on the podcast as we are we're coming into the cricket season, but it's more with a view to longer term being the Ashes, and in this case, the T20 World Cup in February next year. What's at stake for the Aussies playing in this series?
Well, I don't think Tim David's going for a spot in the Ashes. So definitely the eyes on the T20 series. And I think, probably Tim David's got the first ticket to the T20 World Cup in February. And it's just basically seeing who fits around them. Cam Green, another inspired 35 as well. I think those two have really put their hands up. But once again, it's a similar story for Australia in all formats where we're just relying on one or two batsmen and then our bowlers to get out of trouble again. So hopefully what I think Andrew McDonald would want to see is just pure consistency from our batting lineup and making sure it's not just the Tim Davids and the Cam Greens pulling us through, and then a Benny Dwarshuis or Josh Hazlewood coming through with 3 wickets in the space of bloody 2 balls to get the win there. So I think that's particularly what they want to see in this series in particular.
Maxie, what about for yourself, mate? A bloke we've spoken plenty about on this show quite recently is Mitch Owen, who's started in recent times for Australia and sort of burst onto that international stage. He'll be one that we're looking out for. Who else is playing certainly for a spot in the T20 World Cup? And we the options here because the squads are stacked. Like the South Africans, like a bloke like Ryan Rickleton playing in this, they haven't held back.
No, we are playing really good opposition in this team. And one guy in particular that we need to pay attention to is Queni Mafaka, the 18-year-old South African tyro. He got an IPL contract at 17. He was one of the stars of the same under-19 World Cup a couple of years ago that unearthed Sam Konstas. And he is going to be a 3-format star and probably the best bowler in world cricket in about 5 years' time. So it's exciting getting a look at him. But from an Australian perspective, you would have said maybe a couple of months ago that these tours to the West Indies and this top-end tour were an opportunity to cement the likes of a Tim David into our lineup. Now, he's done that, right? So let's look at who's next. For me, the two names who are probably there, you've got one guy who's there or thereabouts and another guy who is consistently performing well at the moment. It's Nathan Ellis and Ben Dwarshuis. So Nathan Ellis has been around the Australian white ball setups now for a number of years, and he's the Scott Bolland of the white ball teams. He's that guy whose record is absolutely unbelievable. His skills you can't question. But how do you fit him in when you've got the big three? It's an unfortunate coincidence that our generational superstars in Starkey, Hazlewood and Pat Cummins can do it in all 3 formats, and just unlucky that Ellis is sort of behind them. However, this tournament is going to allow him to consistently build that case to not only be the next man up, but to potentially jump one of them in the lineup. And Dwarshuis is the other guy for me. I've been lucky enough to be there from the start of Ben Dwarshuis' career when I was at the Sydney Sixers working there, and seen him make a debut as an 18-year-old, take 2 wickets, including Matt Wade's on debut. He was an absolute prodigal son coming through the grades. He's battled injury his whole career, but his last 24 months of cricket, in particular his last 12, he's really shown that potential that he had, and he's not only stepping up on the international stage and playing consistently, he's playing bloody well. 3 wickets in that last game. He also scored runs as well. He hit a really valuable 17 runs, and he hung around with Tim David, rotating the strike, allowing him to go on there and hit those 8 sixes. Dwarshuis is now becoming that guy who is probably where Ellis was, in the sense that if we are to ever lose a Mitchell Starc to injury for any of these upcoming tournaments, Dwarshuis is going to be right there as a very quality replacement who can come in, swing the new ball up front, but also have all the skills to bowl at any time during the game.
Yeah, and I think the other thing with Benny Dwarshuis, as you said, like certainly a bowling all-rounder, but a very good lower-order batsman, can hit a big ball. And when you look at some of our more common all-rounders in Cam Green, who's not necessarily bowling overly often these days, Mitch Marsh in the back end of his career and has always been a bowling option who, again, bowling less and less frequently in the back end of his career. So just little options like that for Benny Dwarshuis, Penning, who can be the 5th and 6th bowlers in this short format to give the other boys a spell. So as you said, plenty to keep an eye out for. We'll be back obviously in 2 weeks to recap the entirety of the series, the winners and losers and what it means coming out of it. But for now, we'll turn our attention over to the subcontinent. Australia A's 4-day squad for that tour. And a quote coming from George Bailey, as reported by the Wide World of Sport. Reason for this tour, basically to develop subcontinent experience and exposure across the longer term while allowing for preparation for the domestic summer. The subcontinent provides many unique challenges and the opportunity to utilise different skills with bat and ball. We hope repeated experiences in these conditions will assist players in developing an effective method and understanding of their game for future subcontinent tours. What are your thoughts, Maxi? You know, we're leading into an Ashes series. Were we better positioned to, put more Australia A cricket on in Australia on our decks with leading contenders for that rather than the subcontinent where, as you said, you've sort of said to me off air, but it's not necessarily a traditional Australia A team that they've sent over because they are looking a long way into the future. Is it the right play or not?
I think there's probably two things at play here. One, there's a bit of a naming issue. As you said, this isn't an Australia A team. Australia A traditionally means the next Cabs, but this is a development squad of very talented cricketers. There's a couple of test players who are going over there and a couple of future test players too, but these aren't the guys who are necessarily absolute locks as the next Cab, right? So I don't think that this should be called Australia A. I think it should be called an Australian Development Squad. But I think the bigger issue here is that sometimes you just got to do stuff to please the Indian Cricket Board, and this is absolutely one of those times. There's no doubt that we'd be better off having a really strong Australia A versus England Lions warm-up into the Ashes with people genuinely applying to get into the team because, make no mistake about it, the Australian Test team at the moment has got a vacancy at the top of the order. It might have 2 vacancies at the top of the order, depending how the Shield goes. But this isn't that. This is an opportunity for some really young, talented cricketers to get some experience in the subcontinent, which has got value. It's going to have value not necessarily for these Ashes. It's going to have value down the line. But right now, it's coming across weird just because of how they've named it. Yeah,
and where it gets weirder, Ando, is just a few of the selections. It's like, okay, it's obviously not really aimed at the Ashes at the end of the year, and that's fine. There's other purposes for the tour. But no Jake Weatherald or Jason Sangha, 2 players, certainly Weatherald, who are in contention for potentially a top order spot for the back end of the year at the Ashes. And these players will return for the start of the Shield season, so that's all good and well. Sam Konstas has gone over, though. A bloke who, what's basically someone who we believe will be a permanent fixture, or hoping will be a permanent fixture in the Australian team for a long time into the future. But we're hoping that he can put some runs on the board and do it leading into the Ashes this year and get a spot. Konstas in, no Weatherald or Sangha. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. I mean, we were talking about Weatherald and Sangha, both of them, on the pod a couple of weeks ago about how they would love an opportunity to show their worth. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense sending them over to India for this tour. This tour, as we mentioned, doesn't really make any sense for us to go over there. I guess this is all in preparation for the 2027 Border Gavaskar Trophy when it will be played over there in India. So I completely get that side of the things, but there's a lot of players who've been shut out here. You still got your Todd Murphys, Nathan McSweeney still going over there. The way that the tour will be working is that by the end of the 4-day test games, they will come back to Australia. Whether they'll have time to play in that opening Sheffield Shield game is still a one, because quick turnaround, I think it's 5 days when they land, presumably, to playing. And then you've got that ODI squad, who I think is no Konstas in that one, but that ODI squad will definitely not play in the first round of Shield, and possibly the second round too. So it's a very interesting tournament, obviously appeasing the BCCI, but we go on without that. But yeah, I don't know why Weatherald Sanga's not there. Another one is like you got Marcus Harris and players like that in your roster as well who would have loved to crack. Definitely eyes on for 2027, but geez, there's a big gap in between those matches. It's not like they're just getting it and then playing 4 months later. The Border Gavaskar is in like 2-3 years.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I love the subcontinent experience, and it does tick a few boxes. But so the squad is Xavier Bartlett, Cooper Connolly, Jack Edwards, Aaron Hardy, Campbell Kellaway, Sam Konstas, Nathan McSweeney, Lance Morris, Todd Murphy, Fergus O'Neill, Oliver Peat, Josh Philippi, Corey Rocchioli and Liam Scott. Maxi, circling back to the Konstas in and no Willard or Sanger, do you read into this at all from where the selectors' heads are at for the end of year Ashes, or not so much?
It's really hard to say. This, as I said, doesn't feel like the Australia A experience. And I think, particularly with the name of Konstas in there, right, because he's the one who's going to get the headlines, this just feels like we're going to give a young guy a bit of an opportunity. He's a lot, like Jason Sang is young, but Sam Konstas is really young. And you got to remember that, like he's, 19 years old? Sang has done this kind of tour. Weatherald's 30. He's had experiences like this in the past. It's a really good team, and there are a lot of people here with the potential to play Test cricket in the future, but it's impossible with the people they've chosen to truly pull a message from this. It's quite bizarre.
Would you like some older heads there from a cultural perspective? Because at the moment it's just a bunch of young kids kind of going around, and then it'd be probably the coaches trying to instill that Australian Test culture.
I think because results are irrelevant and it's purely building towards the future, I think it's just experience on the subcontinent. So I think young is good. I don't think they need old heads at all. I just don't think it achieves much for the old heads unless they're genuinely sort of in the frame for the subcontinent in the selectors' vision for 2027.
Yeah, fair enough.
Boys, England v India. India winning the final test by 6 runs to retain the trophy, their closest test victory ever. Ben Stokes and Jasprit Bumrah, they missed out due to injury in that final test match. Jaiswal, Brook and Root, they all hit second innings tons. Gus Atkinson, 8 wickets for the match. Josh Tongue, 7. Mohammed Siraj and Prasidh Krishna, 9 and 8 respectively. 2 talking points, one from each side. Maxi, we will start with the Indians following this famous match. Firstly, just one of the most captivating hours we've ever seen in Test cricket, and just the entire series continued to deliver and remind us what is so special about Test cricket, which, honestly, it seems to happen time and time and time again.
Nothing hits quite like Test cricket, right, when it's good.
Especially when India are involved. Always interesting.
Yeah, it was absolutely box office, this whole thing. I don't get to command the ability to watch a lot of Test cricket in my household when it's not the middle of summer. Often that hobby of mine gets deprioritised in amongst other things, which I'm fine. But this was an exception, because coming into that last day where India needed 4 wickets and England needed probably about 30 or 40 runs, it was close, it was tense. It's the kind of position where you think England should get home from here, but alas, it wasn't to be. I think it was a fitting ending to what's been an absolutely enthralling series, which has captured our attention time and time again, as much for the exploits on the field as it has been off. And seeing the Indian victory, the spirit, the skill that they finished that match, in particular Mohammed Siraj, who has gone from this understudy and villain to arguably one of the greatest to ever do it in Bumrah, to the spearhead and the resilient and reliable one. It was incredible to see the journey that he went on. And I love the result. I thought it was fitting. How good's Test cricket? Just
on Maxi, in particular Mohammed Siraj. So we spoke leading into the series in our preview about India's inability to sort of take 20 wickets to win a Test match in recent years. They did it twice this series, both times without Bumrah, which is incredible. As you said, Mohammed Siraj, he was the spearhead. It changes a lot for the Indians moving forward, and just the belief they'll get that we can do this without Bumrah.
It does, and I think the other fascinating stat that emerged during that series was just the Indian team's record without Bumrah. It's been an unfortunate part of his career that he hasn't always been fit, but their record improves with him out of the side, which defies all logic when you imagine just how skilled and capable he is. But Siraj and his supporting cast just seem to grow a leg. It's really hard to argue with the stats that Siraj eats up that pressure of being the main man. I thought Prasidh Krishna, he was expensive all tests, but particularly on that last day, he just bowled some really good wicket-taking deliveries that got the job done. So it's hard to figure out really why, much like kind of the Australia A tour. But geez, they were impressive. They played with so much spirit, and I thought the result went the right way.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing off the back of that one. Rando, what did you make of that fifth and final test, mate?
Yeah, I thought it was unbelievable to get, Australians all watching a test match between England and India, 7 p.m. at night. Everyone was glued to their screens, and, that was only emphasised when Wokes came out in obviously his shoulder brace. It was quite extraordinary scenes. And Mohammed Siraj, you're talking about the pressure. Dale Steyn put out a tweet. I don't know if it was before the test or before that fourth innings, saying Siraj will take a fifer, and Siraj actually read the tweet and he made sure he got that last wicket for Dale Steyn. He made mention to the comment, so that was pretty extraordinary. But this entire test series just had absolute drama left, right and centre. You were really engulfed with it, and I thought it was brilliant. And it shows that people keep saying test cricket's dead. I don't think it is. I think that was an incredible series that shows well and truly that it's alive and well. But even better to all that is that England, we love how when they lose, I think it's another 2-2 draw. They had the 2-2 draw against Australia as well. They haven't been able to get that series win at home, both 2-2 against India and Australia, the two guns.
Yeah. I think it's a really important point as well, just seeing India emerge victorious in that style, that we've got a new generation of Indian cricket team here. This was the first series we saw without Virat Kohli, without Rohit Sharma. Those guys were two, particularly Virat, passionate advocates of the game of Test match cricket and the format of Test cricket, and fought really hard, publicly and behind the scenes, to make sure that India continue to prioritise that as a format. They're going to talk about this 2025 series between England and India in the same way that I think Australia and English people talk about that 2005 series. It's a series in many ways which saved the Ashes. It turned it from an annual tradition of beating up the Poms to a contest for a while. And I think to see this new generation of team, hopefully that will continue to drive their passion for this format as well, and we'll continue to get really good high quality series like this.
Yeah, it's a good point, mate. Like with India well and truly being the focal point of world cricket, whether you like it or not, they're also, leading the way in whiteboard cricket, and in particular that T20 scene. So, if Test cricket is going to survive, it has to survive there. And so the impact of, I said in particular, Virat Kohli and what he's done over the years, this series, he could have a lasting impact. So, mate, turning the attention to the host, the English, and casting a little bit more of an eye, Maxi, towards the Ashes in Australia, starting in November. Whose stock sort of rose and fell in this one for them leading into that series?
I think the obvious one is Jofra. Big Jofra Archer. Absolutely frightening. He has been giving Australians nightmares since about 2019 fairly consistently, with just the threat of what he can do, because he hasn't played Test cricket for 4 years. I thought that he played 2 Test matches and he had some really good moments in those Test matches. Everyone talked about the pace, and that was fantastic. He probably didn't get the statistical returns that he would have liked, but just his fitness and his ability to play 2 games and that pace, I think, was really, really good signs, because he's exactly the kind of bowler who's going to come down here in Australia with the potential to have success. Looking across their team, a guy like Chris Wokes, he's the quintessential English quick who relies on his swing and his guile, who comes down to Australia and is an absolute bowling machine, just feeding Travis Head boundary balls. So Jofra's got the game to come down here and do really well, and seeing him return to Test cricket was scary. Even as an Australian who is certainly fearing Jofra Archer, we want him down here. We want him firing at his best, because he can have a big part in this series. Over in the 2 tests that he did play, 2 for 52, 3 for 55, 3 for 73, and 1 for 78. Rando, anyone on the English front that caught your eye?
I think for me, Joe Root. Obviously, there's going to be so much noise about him having never hit a Test ton in Australia. Well,
Has he never hit a Test ton in Australia?
I don't think has anyone said that? It's kind of like the Damien Cook beach sprinter. No one knows that one either.
Can we confirm that with Darren Lehman? Anyone?
Absolutely. But I think he is really come into form. 3 tons in the last 3 games of the series. He's hit 8 tons in his last 18 test matches as well for England, coming off that 2024-2025 season. He's aging like a fine wine. He's really gunning for the most runs in test cricket, and he's got a point to prove in this Ashes series down under. And I think it's not going to be the same Joe Root we've usually seen. His average is a lot higher than what he has usually come to Australia with, and he's really commanding this side. I think Harry Brook as well, he's been brilliant too this test series, and will be one to watch out for there as well. So I think those two will definitely be scary. I mean, Joe Root's going to just cop shit all series, but I think you got to put a bit of respect on his name, even as an Australian saying that, and England are my least favourite test team to see. Joe Root's definitely one to keep an eye on. I know he's been around forever, but yeah.
At the twilight of his career, this Ashes series will be legacy defining for Joe Root, and whether or not he gets a ton. It'll be like the Lionel Messi World Cup final moment, and I mean Virat Kohli winning an IPL, obviously a sort of domestic format, but Joe Root, if he can get that ton, it just changes everything from that legacy. But if he doesn't get it, actually, there's just going to be this little asterisk there for the rest of his life.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate storyline within his career, but when you consider that the cricket world looks at you through this lens of your performances on the international stage, it's a very, very big potential asterisk on his career. And look, we say that as an Aussie, and we love bringing up that stat just because it feels like one that's just in his head.
Oh, yeah.
But look, the English love him. I think Harry Brook was on record during the series saying that he's the greatest test cricketer in the game, which feels a little bit delusional when Donald Bradman exists. But it'll be, it's going to be career defining, I think.
Oh, it's going to be so good. Plenty more on that. And as we'll be casting an eye and leading with a lot of content on future podcasts going to the Ashes at the end of the year. But for now, guys, part 2 of the show, the part where we reveal the best individual performances in world cricket, while also casting an eye to the Aussie performances around the world, good or bad, across the past week. Well, in this case, the last 2 weeks. Maxie, I'll start with you, mate. The Aussies in action, the 100 tournament over in the UK. Talk to us.
Yeah, so there was a handful of good performances in the Australia versus South Africa match. So notably Ben Dorshus, 3 for 26 and 17 with a bat. Josh Hazlewood, 3 for 27. Again, we speak about it all the time. Such an underrated white ball bowler. He really won the Aussies the game when South Africa were looking pretty control in that chase. Tim David, 83 of 52 with 8 sixes was amazing. But Dave Warner, he's over there in the 100 as one of 8 Aussies, and he's going pretty well, as he tends to do. He's scored back-to-back 70s. He hit 70 not out of 45 and then 71 from 51. So he's in decent nick, old Davey.
There you go,
Do you reckon
Dave.
he'll get the call up? Come out of retirement.
Can
India,
you
Sri Lanka.
imagine?
Well, it just depends, right? Are you asking me or are you asking him? Because I reckon he would
He
say
will definitely.
He
I'll
will.
put his name down. Yeah, he's
Oh.
He's wondering, can I do London to Darwin and Darwin back to London?
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
next
yeah.
ODI?
Rando, what about world cricket? Looking outside of the Australians, who starred?
Plenty of key players in that India-England final test. Yazavi Jazwal, his stocks continue to go up, 118. Harry Brook, 111. Joe Root, of course, another ton there. And then you look to the bowlers, Siraj, 5 for 104 in that final innings. A winning spell there from him. And Gus Atkinson, 5 for 33 too. Another really good spell for the Englishman. Then you look over to New Zealand and Zimbabwe, and this has just been a bit of a no contest. Unfortunately, no Zimbabwean names, so sorry, Zimbabwe fans. New Zealand winning the most recent test. It was the 3rd biggest innings win in test history as well, so they've been making light work of it. Rachin Ravindra, 165 not out. Devon Conway, 153. Harry Nichols, 150 not out, just absolutely belting them. Mark Henry in that first test, he took 6 for 39 off 15 overs, which included 6 maidens. He then took 5 for 40 in the next test against Zimbabwe. But Zachary Folkes, on test debut, 9 for 75 for the match, 4 for 38 in his first ever innings bowling for New Zealand in test, and then 5 for 37 as well. What I love about Zachary Folkes is it's definitely not the way you would spell either of those names. He's Zachary, Zakary, and then Folkes, Foulkes. Maybe it might be Falks. Is it Falks or Folkes? Sure, there's folks.
Mooks or Moops?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know. It might not even be Zachary.
There's a huge chance that you've mispronounced both of those things, Rando, but
thanks, mate.
let's assume it is Zachary, folks.
I'm good with the Mark Henrys. I think I nailed that one.
Yeah. You've done right, mate. There's a lot of cricket around the world to get your head around. So when a debutant comes in, like, you can't get it all the pronunciations right.
I was trying to find the stream of New Zealand versus Zimbabwe. No luck. No luck. Anyone got a VPN for that?
That's your job for 2 weeks' time, mate.
Yeah, we'll do.
Zachary Folks pronunciation.
Zachary Folks. Could be the John Simpson, the new John Simpson of this pod.
Don't get
Settle
started
down.
on
Speaking
that.
of, he is playing with Davey Warner, Kane Williamson. I think he attracted those players. You know, when you sign someone and they just attract the big stars? I think when they saw John Simpson's name there at keeper, they were like, we need that team.
Warner wanted to play with Johnny Simpson.
Right. Bucket list stuff.
Boys, and that'll do us for the Cricket Playbook podcast for this week. As I said, the SC Playbook t-shirts going on sale on Wednesday at 6 p.m. by the SC Playbook website. If you would like to jump on, get a piece of the action and support SC Playbook at the same time. Maxi, thank you, mate.
Cheers, Timo. And we're really looking forward to the rest of this top end series. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Rando, cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Very much so looking forward to the rest of the series and then the upcoming Sheffield Shield. Oh, it's just tasty.
Oh, there's
the
a lot
schedule's
coming
good.
up. There is. We'll be back in 2 weeks, guys, to recap the entirety of that, the series up in the top end. Obviously, of course, touch on the Australia A series as well. And then as we get closer to the full-on Australian Summer Shield and all that, we'll go back to a weekly podcast down the track. But for now, thanks for tuning in.